Hello, it's Friday, December 15th, and this is my 2 cents. Last week we talked about the FBI and the investigation into Donald Trump, Russian collusion, and some of the problems with the Mueller investigation into that. A couple of people have been demoted or removed from that investigation for anti-Trump texts and so forth. Some more of them texts came out this week, and I got to tell you, folks, this thing just gets worse and worse for the Mueller investigation. It's almost to the point now where this thing should be shut down, and it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. It's an absolute travesty what's going on here. Now, we talked last week about this Peter Stroke or Zoke or Stroke, STRZOK, I don't know how to pronounce it, had been exchanging during the election cycle last year, had been exchanging anti-Trump, pro-Hillary text messages with his, and this is a new word I learned from Trey Gowdy on TV the other day, which I never even knew existed. But he was exchanging text messages with his paramour, which I never knew what that meant. But paramour, his lover, his mistress, his secret girlfriend. They're both married and they were having an affair. But they were exchanging text messages, and the girl's name is Lisa Page. She's a lawyer for the FBI. Anti-Trump, pro-Hillary text messages, and so forth. Now that's bad enough, but so that shows that a little bit of bias, at least some bias. But now some more of these texts. Now I'm going to quote it to you. Some more of these texts have come out, and this one was disturbing to say the least. And I'll read the whole text to you. Two FBI officials who worked on the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation exchanged text messages last year in which they appeared to have discussed ways to prevent Donald Trump from being elected president. Now, I don't know why FBI agents would be trying to prevent somebody from being elected president. That's not their job. It sounds bad. But to go on, and here's what one of the text messages said. This is the message from Peter Stroke to his girlfriend Lisa Page. He says, "I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office." Now, Andy's talking about is probably Andy McCabe, deputy director of the FBI. He said, "I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way Trump gets elected. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk." FBI counterintelligence Peter Stroke wrote in a cryptic text message to Lisa Page. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40. Now, what the hell does that mean? Okay, here's my take on it. I think Lisa Page, Peter Stroke, Andy McCabe, those three names, and some of these names, as I said before, pop up in the Russian dossier. They pop up in the Trump or the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Same names. They pop up in the Uranium One deal. A lot of these names are the same players. Okay, but now this Lisa Page, Peter Stroke, Andy McCabe. I think they're all in the office. That's what they're talking about here. They must have had they were in the office having a meeting of some sort or having a discussion. And I think that they were discussing ways to stop this Trump train that was obviously rolling down the tracks from winning the election. Or at least making sure he didn't win the election. And I think this Lisa Page said, look, he's not going to win the election. Okay, and that's the plan. This is how it all plays out. And she probably said, these states here are going to go Hillary, blah, blah, blah. And she mapped it out like you always watch on CNN or all these channels that during the election they'll show you which states are this guy's and this state belongs to her. And, this is the only path to victory, and this path. So I think that's what I think that's probably what she was talking about, because I think she was slightly uncomfortable with what McCabe and Stroke were talking about doing, which is, in my opinion, this whole Russian Trump collusion bullshit. It's fake. Okay? So that's why that's why he says, I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office. That, the path that Trump wouldn't win. That's what I think that means. That there's no way Trump gets elected. She's saying this is, all these states here, Trump can't win. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk. We can't take the risk of the American people electing a president that we don't want. So we have this insurance policy. This insurance policy is, now this text was sent August, in the middle of August. Now Trump's already got the nomination. They still think Hillary's going to win, but they don't want to take a chance. So they're gonna hedge their bets. They hedged their bets with this Russian dossier that they had gotten their hands on from John McCain back in July. Okay, and they used it to unmask civilians in Trump's campaign, and we spoke about this last week, in Trump's campaign to spy on that, and I think that's where it all started. They used that dossier to go to the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, went to the FISA court to get FISA warrants to unmask Trump campaign, not even Trump transition folks, which is bad enough, but Trump campaign people, to listen in on their conversations under the guise that they're listening in under foreign, listening to the foreign actors. So now they're unmasking these people like Flynn, like this, who knows who all else, Carter Page, who anybody they can unmask. They want to find dirt. That's their insurance plan. Okay, now they've done this. Trump goes steams on. He wins the election. This is something that they did not expect. Okay, so now he's won, and now they're in a panic because they know what they did. They know what they did, and they're worried that they're going to be found out. And that's what's happening here. All of this, like I said, during this time frame, Stroke was the guy who investigated Hillary, let her off the hook before July 5th, before her nomination. Let Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, both who lied to the FBI, he let them off the hook, didn't charge them with lying to the FBI when they lied about whether or not they knew about the private server, whether or not they had sent any classified information, blah, blah, blah. They lied about it. They were not charged with lying to the FBI. However, Mike Flynn was. Same player, same interviewer, same law being broken, different result. What does that tell you? It's not equal justice under the law. So these players, and there's more of them. Bruce Orr, he is a lawyer in the Justice Department that has been demoted now. He was a part of this Russian dossier investigation too. What's mind-boggling about this guy? He had a meeting with before and after with the lawyer, the Russian lawyer that Donald Trump Jr. Met with. That all the left is so up in arms about, that proves the Russian collusion. Donald Trump Jr. got the email from the guy that said that they had this Russian had information on Hillary Clinton, and they had the meeting. Well, this Bruce Orr is the he had a meeting with this lawyer. Is my understanding anyway. He had a meeting with this lawyer before and after this Trump this Trump, or not with the lawyer. I'm sorry. He had a meeting with the Russian dossier Fusion GPS people before and after the Trump meeting, the Trump Jr. meeting with this Russian lawyer. Now, why is that? Why is that so interesting? This guy's wife, Bruce Orr, his wife is named Nellie Orr, works for Fusion GPS. You can't make this stuff up. This is something Tom Clancy can't put in a novel. All of this stuff is connected. I know people talk about conspiracy theories and all of that kind of stuff. This is mind-boggling. The house of cards is falling down, and it's crumbling down. And over the holidays, it may slow a little bit, but I think that after the holidays, this thing is going to blow up even worse. I think that we're going to find out that the higher echelon of the FBI now, the lower agents, and from what I understand, these guys are furious. Furious. A lot of the guys that did the grunt work for a lot of this information, they're furious. They know what's going on. Their upper echelon bosses are politicized beyond repair. They are in the tank, and they for the left, and they cannot fathom an outsider in their eyes. Donald Trump, no political office ever held, no affiliation with anybody. No, he didn't know anybody anything. Ran his own campaign, financed his own campaign, won the election, and is accountable to nobody. And that scares the hell out of him. These guys are thick as thieves, and the names you need to remember here are James Comey, head of the FBI. The buck stops with him, as far as it's his FBI that's been corrupted. Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Orr, his wife Nellie Orr, and I don't know how deep her involvement would be, but the fact remains that the lawyer that's investigating the Russian dossier, wife works for the people who came up with the Russian dossier. That's problematic at the very least. Okay, so that's the first part of today's show. The other thing, and I heard this on the Dan Bongino show, and he had read an article and he spoke about it, and then I went to the article that he read, and this it makes more sense than anybody could. I mean, these fake stories, fake news. In the last week or two, we've had a rash of them. Okay, we've had one of the channels, I think it was when Flynn pled guilty, ABC had came out and said that he had pled guilty and had agreed to testify against Trump, and had agreed that he was going to testify that Trump ordered him to make contact with the Russians before the election. Turned out that was completely false. He did not. Trump had told Flynn to make contact with the Russians after the election, which is exactly what he should have done as national security advisor. So that was false. Now, another one of the fake news that came out, and I think it was CNN or MSNBC, one of them came out with the Deutsche Bank was subpoenaed. All Trump's records was subpoenaed from the Deutsche Bank, and that it came out that they subpoenaed Trump's records. Blah blah blah. Special counsel did. They wanted to look at Trump's records. Turned out that was a false story. They didn't. They subpoenaed some records, but they weren't Trump. They weren't Trump related records. Okay, so it was a fake story, and I mean it got widespread coverage. And the third story was the Trump Jr. This was a big one. The Trump Jr. email was sent to him from WikiLeaks. Supposedly they had sent Trump Jr. an email with a link to the WikiLeaks files before they were, September 4th is when they were supposedly, they had sent it to Trump Jr. so that he could have that information on September 4th, and which was before they was released, and proved the Russian WikiLeaks Trump collusion. Well, that was fake too. That was false. The email was actually September 14th, which was after all the WikiLeaks information had been released. So it was three straight, and within the span of a week, three straight enormous fake news stories. Now, what Bongino had read and what I read after I heard it on his show, those three fake stories were probably planted. They were planted by the Department of Justice, Jeff Sessions. Now, I've been kind of disappointed in Sessions because he hasn't plugged the leaks, because he hasn't gone after Hillary like he should, and so forth. But now that I read that story, got to thinking about it, and what that story said makes perfect sense. They fed that, they're trying to find the leaks, and they fed these stories to certain people to sniff out who was leaking the stories. So don't be surprised if in the next week or two or soon that we don't have a major announcement about leakers. And they think, the story I read thinks that it's a member of Congress. Or his staffer, but they think it's a member of Congress because some of the stuff that comes out is stuff that was only known in closed sessions of hearings and so forth. So that's an interesting concept too. This is nothing short of a coup attempt, a soft coup attempt, non-violent coup attempt. But that's what's going on here. I don't know that we can, in any way, shape, or form, stop any of this in the future unless people go to jail. And I said that last week. People need to go to jail. They need to know that this is not going to be tolerated, because if it's tolerated, it'll keep happening. It'll keep going on. The corruption will grow and grow and grow and grow. Now, also another thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of funny to me. These text messages that I earlier spoke of, the Peter Strzok and all, Lisa, his girlfriend Lisa Page, they were released because the reason they were found, the reason they were subpoenaed or whatever, warranted, got a warrant and got them, was because the Inspector General started looking into the Clinton email investigation by the FBI. Now, what's funny about this is it was the Democrats who were so excited that the Inspector General was going to start looking into the Clinton email investigation by the FBI, because they were so mad. They thought that's why Hillary lost the election, was because of Comey and the email investigation, and they thought it was phony and all that. And Elijah Cummings is the guy that pushed for the IG to investigate. And now it's turned around on them, and the Dems are running for cover and saying that it's completely ridiculous that the IG is looking at. They're the ones that wanted them to look into it. And once they looked into it, they found out that it was a mirror, and they were looking at themselves as the corruptors. You can't make this stuff up, people. This is too funny. This is going to go down as the largest, most corrupt scandal in the history of the United States of America. I guarantee it. And I think that when it's all said and done, this could damage the Democratic Party for a generation, because there are so many players involved here, And it all started, in my opinion, with the Clintons. They were the poison in the party that that has spread throughout the entire party. I mean, we hadn't got into the Wasserman Schultz and the DNC and all that stuff. I mean, this is widespread all over the Democratic Party, and hopefully, people on the left will start opening their eyes and realizing that, you know what, we've been duped, we've been lied to, and there's a whole lot of people that need to be in jail. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. Give me a holler, a Facebook message, or put it on. Send me a message at M1IronMike at yahoo.com, or right here on my YouTube channel, my 2 cents. I will probably do a show next week, next Friday, maybe. It depends. Maybe try to find something better to talk about. But this stuff is so much fun and so absolutely unbelievable that it's hard not to talk about. Anyway, have a good Christmas, everybody. If I don't see you before next week, and Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you next week.